Hello, everyone. Welcome to Youth Bonds. I'm Carson.
I'm Coleman.
And I'm Holden.
And we're the voice of young conservatives in Alachua County. Today, we are talking about due process rights for legal immigrants and whether Trump and ICE is currently violating them. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding this, but Coleman, what do you want to start us off with?
Okay, so I think it's just good for the audience to get a little bit of the DL on what's going on. So I think that what this whole thing started, I believe, early March, where I guess you have the Trump administration, they're deporting people and prioritizing illegal immigrants, and now they're deciding, okay, we want to ramp this up somehow. How? What do we do it? And then the idea was brought up during the campaign trail is the the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. So, and what is this? This is a wartime law that allows the president to detain or deport non-citizens from countries deemed hostile during times of declared war or invasion. So, the Trump administration wanted to implement this, but then it was blocked in the federal court by this guy named James Boasberg, on March 16th. Now, the controversy here, there's several stuff about, okay, do these immigrants in question are they full American citizens yet? Do they have 5th and 14th Amendment rights? Yada, yada. But let's just start with both of your concerns as to what this controversy is all about.
Yeah, so number one, I think the top concern, even though there are plenty, is that a lot of these immigrants in this country who are being deported actively are people who have no criminal charges brought against them. None. These people are being deported to El Salvadoran prisons, and they have no criminal charges brought against them. Not only that, they are also not illegal. Okay, these are all legal. Now, whether they are on green cards or visas,
illegal. So they're all legal citizens. Right?
Yes, yeah, they're all not illegal. Sorry, I don't know if I missaid that, but they are all legal citizens who are here on green cards or visas, and they are all suspected of some form of terrorism, whether it be, I think some of them are suspected of being members of a Venezuelan gang. Others were suspected of being supportive of Hamas. That was Mahmoud Khalil, who was deported, or who is they're trying to deport. So all these people are legal. We're not even talking about illegal immigrants. It's not even a promises made, promises kept thing, because then you'd be deporting illegal immigrants. But it's not illegal immigrants. It's legal people who came here legally through our systems. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's super sad that these people aren't getting due process, and the precedent that it's setting is not good, because we don't know if this would happen to anybody that maybe we even know, because it's just a really bad precedent to set. Due process, it needs to happen, and if it doesn't, then you're going to have just ridiculous things like this happen.
Right. So what I will say is, if what both of you are saying is true, that these people are truly American citizens and they're not getting due process.
Well, they're not American citizens. They're legal immigrants.
Oh, so they're legal immigrants, not yet American citizens.
Yes.
Okay. So this is where it comes to mind. So I think this is where it's probably going to get debated in the courts. It's like, do legal immigrants have 15th and 14th Amendment rights? And they're not U.S. citizens yet, but they immigrated legally. So I guess, what say both of you? Do you say yes to that?
I think, obviously, I don't think there's anywhere in the Constitution where it says specifically these rights are only for citizens. And I think, I think it's very clear this country has to have some sort of protections for immigrants. So if it's not the Bill of Rights, what is it? Because we don't have anything else, right? What are the protections for these people? Because in my opinion, I think it's very clear the intention of the Constitution is to provide inalienable rights that our founders believed were provided by God, by your very nature of existing here. Now, you can believe in God or not believe in God, but the foundation for our systems is rooted in this idea in Christianity that we all have dignity as human beings, and therefore, if we all have dignity, that the government should treat us as such, and the government should not be allowed to abridge you on these certain rights, these rights to life, liberty, and property. If that is the case, then it is undebatable. It doesn't matter your immigration status. Theoretically, they should apply 100% to illegal immigrants too, but we're not even talking about that. We're talking about legal immigrants, right? If that is true, if that is the basis for our laws, which it is in Western society, this should be not debated. This is not a question.
Okay,
Yeah.
Holden, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm totally agree. And throwing them in El Salvadorian jails is just insanity, because like, who the hell even knows what's going on there? Like, and this is, and they don't even get due process. It's just insane to me. Like, and we're throwing them there. And then the border czar is saying, like, what's his name?
Tom Homan.
He's like, someone asked him on Fox News today, he's like, well, what about these people getting due process? And he's like, well, what about all the families that are victims of of illegal immigrants raping and all this stuff, and it's just like that's insane. Like to compare that, and it's like yes, obviously they should get due process. Whatever crime that happened there, they should have due process, and just here too, they should have due process. I don't even legal or illegal. They need to figure out the case, what's going on. So
yeah, I mean, obviously everybody has due process. It's using someone not getting their day in court, which by the way, all of those families who are victims, they always get their day in court to justify someone else not getting their day in court. No, everybody deserves their day in court, no matter who they are, no matter what. That is what we do in the West. That is what differentiates us from other authoritarian countries.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we should also talk about how like these people are allegedly, I guess, being defined. Because I guess there's certain tattoos, I think, right, that that the administration is using to identify these people, right? Because I think like the Venezuelan gang, Tren de Agua, MS-13, they have a certain tattoo, right? Do we know what that symbol is?
I think we do know what the symbol is, but people,
yeah.
I'm not sure entirely. Like I don't know what it
know.
is directly, but I do know that one of the people who was deported had a symbol, I believe, for a soccer or hockey team. I think it was a soccer team. They had a symbol for a soccer team tattooed, and they mistook it for a symbol of Tren de Aragua. That is absurd, frankly. I don't think just having a tattoo should implicate you in anything. But theoretically, if that tattoo specifically is going to implicate you in something, shouldn't we at least know 100% that that's the tattoo? And this is why having something expressive like a tattoo, being able to implicate you in something is just a slippery slope to begin with. I think having that kind of a tattoo, it's freedom of speech. It should qualify that way.
due process. It's just that simple. Regardless of your tattoo, due process.
We should know you're in a Venezuelan gang. You might even be sympathetic to them, whatever. We should know 100% you're in that gang, or you have supported that gang directly before we ever infringe upon your rights. Do you agree with me, right, Coleman?
Okay, so
We can talk about this in context of the issue, right? But generally speaking, we should know, right?
Right. So, okay, I think what I'll say, I guess, from a humanitarian perspective, this is obviously distressing, right? Yes. So I agree on that. Because where I'm still hung up on is whether or not these people by the law get due process. Because I don't know. I think we as humanitarians would like to say yes, but right, and then that's our impulse as the West here. Sorry, I'm backed up from the mic. So again, what I was saying here is we as the West, we have humanitarian. Obviously, we're saying here that at a humanitarian level, it sounds distressing, and what I will also say it's where I'm still hung up is, do these people by the law, as non-citizens but legal immigrants, get due process? But I think what this comes down to is what this Alien Enemies Act does, because part of declaring this, you do bypass other things that you would normally get. For instance, you bypass the standard immigration court process, which typically includes hearings before a judge to determine legal status and eligibility to remain in the U.S. So I guess under normal circumstances, yes, you would get that. But now, by invoking this, because the administration said multiple times that, oh yeah, we're being invaded, just straight up. So they're using that justification then to impose this thing.
Well,
do we agree with the notion? Say we're being invaded?
No, I don't agree with that at all. Invasion means that invasion. You can't just throw that word around like Trump does and like Charlie Kirk does. Just we're being invaded at the southern border. Do you know what that word means? Invaded?
It's a very strong word.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
I mean, it's just insanity to call it invaded.
But even if the southern border is an invasion, okay, that's something completely different than these people who we admitted legally through our systems. I mean, it's a very different circumstance.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand. So how is this our current immigration system not an invasion? And then what would constitute an invasion?
If Mexico said we're going to blow up Austin, Texas, and whatnot, or Fort Knox or something, then that would be an invasion or something. So
I mean, you have to have a foreign military or militia on the ground in our country before you can consider it.
Mexico, yeah.
There's no hostile militia or military group.
Yeah, Mexico says we're going to war. We declared war on the United States. They throw an army at the southern border. That's an invasion.
It's funny because as much as Trump and the modern right likes to separate themselves from conservatives of the past, Bush and that kind of thing, this is something straight out of the early 2000s. The infringements on the rights of American citizens and legal immigrants generally that we saw during that area, the Patriot Act and all of that. This is something directly out of that. They're using the exact same justifications, the national security justifications, the calling everyone we don't like terrorists, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is exactly the same.
Yeah, and another thing I was listening to recently, again, I'm I need to look more into it. So I'm undecided, but like, what I'm thinking of right now is like, in addition, do legal immigrants who are not American citizens have Second Amendment rights? In this case, like, do they have like the right to like purchase guns and like? I guess both of you would also say yes to that.
Definitely.
Yes, obviously.
I don't think then like your argument here is like there's no right within the Constitution a legal immigrant would not be entitled to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's very clear, a legal immigrant can run for any political offices that is not the president or the vice president, and they can do basically anything except for vote. That is like, we specifically clarify when a right is not for a legal immigrant. I mean, voting is right in there. But
Yeah.
so I think that's pretty clear.
Okay. And what else will I say here? So I guess another concern is technically like this, the federal judge, he issued a restraining order. Like, so technically, like, they're not supposed, like, the administration, if they're following the federal judge, they should not be, acting as if the Alien Enemies Act is in place. But it seems like the concern is here that they are still. Like, they're still, behaving as if this act is in place, even though there's a restraining order on it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also kept, like, they were ordered, it was a court order, you cannot deport this person. They kept flying the plane to the El Salvadoran prison. This is like the worst part of it all, is if they were in American prisons, at least we would have some sort of, or more of an understanding as to what was going on. Obviously, not a full understanding, but more of one.
Sure.
Because they're in an El Salvadoran prison, we don't know about the treatment they're enduring. We really don't know. And I just think that's horrific. Imagine a lot of these people, no notice. They had no understanding of what was happening. They're just here. And then they get deported to El Salvadoran prisons because they are suspected of being in a terrorist organization without even confirmation or any criminal, like, it'd be one thing if you were just deporting these people, which would be, again, horrific. You're upending people's lives. It'd be one thing if you were just deporting them. It's a whole other thing to be sending them to prisons when you don't even know what is happening with them or what sort of, allegiances they hold or that kind of thing. All you know is based on one tattoo, which has been misconstrued to be a gang member tattoo. I mean, it's really like, in my opinion, it's just absurd. It's just, no matter how you slice it, it is absurd.
And we need to stop acting like illegal immigration is this horrific crime. Like, it's not. I don't at all get that. I mean, yes, illegal immigration, at best, it's a slap on the wrist, in my opinion, because who's the victim? Like, okay, so like your taxes, did you get your taxes 100% correct? Did you pay the exact right amount? Did you get all your deductions right? Maybe there's something you missed out on. Should that person, like, what's the crime for that person? How about like, someone who smoked weed one day? Should that person go, like, is that person now, this huge threat? Like, there's degrees to crimes, and I don't even see that as one.
And isn't also like being an illegal immigrant, because this is another thing, but isn't that a civil offense? I believe that's a civil offense, in which case you can't go to prison, even if these were illegal immigrants. You couldn't send them to prisons for being illegal immigrants, right? I could be wrong about that.
In a different country, I mean, I don't know. It's just insane.
I'm pretty sure it's a civil offense, but...
So I think, just on the separate note of illegal immigration, what I will say on that matter is, for one, it's still a crime, but like, to your point though, is it a violent crime? Not really. Is it... But I think it should it be a civil offense, federal offense? Yeah, that's debatable. I argue federal. But here, I think, as far as like what harm are they causing? Like, I guess what I would argue is property rights. Because I think here you have the United States. I would argue that entire nation is, as established as a nation with borders. They have their own distinct property. Here, if a person illegally enters that property without going through the right processes, that's a violation of the America's property right, and therefore they have the right to deport.
Well, so if
that's my argument.
If they go on someone's private property, who like and they're not invited there or welcome there, then yes, that would be
private property.
That's private property. If they go on a street, or something, then that's a different issue. And nobody. It's like this is the problem again with public ownership. No one really owns it, kinda. But I mean, yes, the government owns it, but it's more of a, it's not as simple as something where you just have private property.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we'll wrap this up soon, but my main argument to close is like, hey, if the nations as a whole have rights over the property which they govern, that's really it. But on the note of due process, I really hope, this does sound distressing. I saw it on the news, I didn't really look too much into it, but sounding by the concerns you brought up, looks like I need to look more into it. And I wish the best for anyone involved in this mess right now. And I hope things can get resolved.
Yeah,
So-
I want to say, just closing out.
Sure.
This has nothing to do with illegal immigrants. And actually, in the one way that it does, this takes away from resources for actually, if you wanted to institute mass
true.
deportations, this makes it harder because you are using the resources that could be spent on people who are here illegally and using them on people who did everything right, who followed our system. And it's honestly, it's very disconcerting in every way. Obviously, I do not agree with mass deportations for illegal immigrants, but if I did, especially when deportation numbers are down compared to Biden, why would I want my government to be spending time on the people who followed the procedures and came here legally? That's what I would say.
Okay. So I think we'll close with that. We'll let the audience do your own homework. What do you guys think about this? If you want to leave a like or comment, give us feedback, let us know. I think this is an ongoing thing. I hope it gets resolved. But I think you at home just continue obeying the laws, doing your own thing, be nice to other people, and then be compassionate about other people's perspectives during these, uncertain and unprecedented times. So that said, if you do want to reach out to us, we do have youth bombs at LaChaRepublicans.com. Thank you so much for watching and take care.